Hello. Okay. Hi. If this is your first introduction to me, my name is Esther or Est, I guess. I have previously gone by the Shade Queen and more recently my own royalty. But to be fair, my own royalty is always gonna be part of me, I guess. It's got a story to it. I'll probably tell that in like the 10th episode or something like that. But yeah, Esther, if this is your first time ever seeing me, hello. I've been podcasting for 9 years. Took a little break. Less than a year break. I don't even know if that counts as a break, but here we are. And yeah, you are listening or watching. You're tuned into Rewriting Life's Canvas, hosted by me, of course. So yeah, let me just get my notes up. Do you know how interesting it is being in a room by yourself recording? So interesting. But anyways, yeah. Like I said, once known as the Shade Queen, or once went by the Shade Queen. That was because I had a podcast with my friend. Started that in 2017. I've been podcasting for 9 years. I've been yapping publicly for 9 years. But anyway, so I had a podcast. It was called No Shade Podcast with my lovely, lovely friend and sister, Ekuya. And that was really fun. Did that for 5.5 years. And then from that, went on to being one of four hosts on the morning show the day after under the New Black Network. And did that for 3 years. Was it 3 years? I think it was 3.5 years actually. I think I like a half. Notion was 5.5 years. And I believe TDA was 3.5 years. I've got a thing for halves clearly. But yeah, did that. And I just stepped away from that. Didn't think I'll be back to podcasting very soon. I've always wanted to be fair, I've always wanted to have my own show. That was really the goal. Like many years ago, I struggle to remember the year, but I know I went to uni in 2014. So I think it was before I went to uni. And I had a YouTube channel. I started a YouTube channel, but I found that so hard, which is one of the reasons why Ekwe and I actually started a podcast, because the YouTube commitment was it just felt like too much. Yeah, so I'm here. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching this. I will let you know what this podcast is going to be about. So it's called Rewriting Life's Canvas, and I will explain how I got there. So I have a theory. Should I call it a theory or a mindset? A belief. I'm going to go with a belief. I like a belief. I believe that when we're born, we are blank canvases. Everything you know about yourself has been heavily influenced. Let's just go with influence. Heavily influenced by institutions. So religion, tradition, society, culture, friends, family, let's say education, I did not, school. A lot of the things that we are, a lot of the beliefs that we have, a lot of the morals that we have, a lot of the values that we have come from somebody else, comes from something else. And so, of course, when you're young, you have no choice but to depend on the people that are taking care of you and all these institutions that you interact with. However, the older you get, I really believe that it's very important to take a step back and start looking at what makes you you. So, yeah, looking at what makes you you. Looking at questioning the values that you have, questioning the opinions that you hold, questioning the thoughts that you have. I mean, it's not a negative thing all the time, because it can be positive, but I just believe it's important to look at these things and just see whether it aligns with who it is that you actually want to be. A lot of the ideas that we have of who it is that we want to be is also influenced by, again, those institutions. I would say who you are, maybe mainly family, because family, culture, tradition, I would say those are the main things, because that's kind of your identity. You identify with your family. When people ask you where you're from or you want to trace your roots, that's to do with your culture, that's to do with your tradition, that's to do with the society, the area you live in, or the country you live in, all that kind of stuff. So I really just believe that as we get older, it's important to revisit, to look back at these things and to rewrite it. So rewriting doesn't look like completely cancelling it out and, dropping everything that you believe or dropping, your values or whatever the case is. It's just tweaking. It's just tweaking. It's evolving. I really believe it's a form of evolving. And so, yes, so I decided to call the podcast Rewriting Life's Canvas, because the conversations that we're going to be having here are conversations that will hopefully challenge the way you think, that will make you, that will make you reflect on who you are, how you got here. When I say here, as in like you in your present, how did you get to where you are? How are you doing what it is that you're doing? And all the different things that make that up. The older we get, we interact with more people than who it is that your parents allow you to interact with. And so you learn different things about people's cultures, and you learn so many things that people do differently to you. For example, like the way you're raised, there might be things that's normalized in your household or the way that relationships are, and then you meet people and you see that actually it's not normal, or their situation is a little tricky, basically. So that's why the podcast is called Rewriting Life's Canvas, because we're going to be looking at life as a whole, different things to do with our lives, whether that's friendships, relationships, our belief systems, faith. I'm a Christian, so a lot of things that I do is grounded in who God, Christ, has said I am and says that I am. So that's really what we're going to be doing on here. It's not always going to be heavy. I hope this doesn't make it sound like it's going to be heavy. It's not always going to be heavy. It could be fun. It could be shits and giggles. But whatever it is, I just think it's always important to have conversations and explore things and question things. I'm the queen of questioning why I think what I think. I'm the queen of questioning the root of my beliefs. I'm the queen of questioning things and trying to digging through it. So I was in therapy, and one of the things that always in my therapist picked up on it was I would start something. I would start by making a statement. Or this, say for example, this happened. But then by the time I get to the end of it, I've talked about why it happened, but then I trace my thoughts all around and why did I feel that way and self-therapy. To be fair, I did do a lot of self-therapy before I did actual therapy. But again, that's part of me wanting to look at my life's canvas and just rethinking things through. There was a lot of things that I believe because of my culture, because of tradition. And that is something, I guess, the older I get and I'm trying to transition into certain areas of my life, I'm finding a little bit harder, trying to understand these things. But when I think about it, the way God works is just amazing to me. I don't believe that anything that we do is by chance. I don't believe that anything that we are is random. Even the things that we go through, we go through very difficult things sometimes, and it's hard. And when you're in it, you don't really want to be hearing that it will help you one day. How about it just doesn't happen right now? Do you know what I mean? So, but I've always just held the belief that a lot of things that we go through is leading us somewhere. And when I think about the fact that I'm sitting here in a room recording my podcast by myself, that is crazy to me. Like, younger me, and I know you're probably thinking, yeah, but you did a YouTube channel, but that's different, because I think with YouTube is typically a one you versus the camera situation. Nella Rose, for me, the first person I ever knew that had like a group setting when it came to YouTube. So with podcasting, it feels so different. And when I look back at 9 years in the industry and just who I was and who I am today, it absolutely blows my mind how much I've evolved. And I am so excited at the idea or at the thought of who I am going to become. Even with this podcast, I'm excited for where it's going to go. I'm excited for what it's going to do. I'm excited for the people that I'm going to have conversations with and meet and get to hear their life experiences, their life stories, and just what life is like for them and exploring different topics. I'm so excited about that. Like, that gives me so much fuel. But the way life works, I just don't believe that anything that happens to us is by chance. I don't believe that anything that we do, people that we encounter is by chance. Like, when I think about starting podcasting in the first place, I met my friend on the first day of university. I wasn't even meant to go to that university. Where did I want to go? I wanted to go to Newcastle. I don't know why I wanted to go to Newcastle. I don't know what it was about it. And it actually sounds very silly, but I wanted to go to the University of Newcastle because the prospectus looked nice. I don't know what it was. I was just drawn there. I had no business there. But anyway, I wanted to go there. Then I wanted to go to the University of Nottingham because one of my friends was at Nottingham and I'd been to visit and I just thought, oh, this is a lovely place. Didn't go to any of those places. I didn't. I ended up going to the University of Kent via clearing. I found out on results day that I didn't get in to where I wanted to get into. And I was just searching through the UCAS website for who could take me because I wanted to study law. I've wanted to study law all my life since like the age of 4. I ended up studying sociology and politics. Also, I just realised that having a podcast by myself means that I'm probably going to be oversharing a lot. That's just interesting. That's just a by the way. But anyways, always wanted to study law. That was literally my plan A. I never had a plan B because law was the plan A and I was so sure and so certain that I was going to do it. So, results day, ended up studying sociology and politics because I really love sociology. Sociology is when I realised that I am a feminist. I've always been a feminist, but I never had a label for what I am. And sociology introduced me to that. Big up Miss Healy, best sociology teacher, and Mr. Ambrose, best sociology teachers ever. But anyways, ended up going to Kent, met my friend on the first day of university, met a queer on the first day of university, and we ended up being so close. By the end of university, we're like, oh, let's start a podcast. Started a podcast, did that for 5.5 years. I woke up one day, this is whilst I am now looking at doing a law conversion course and volunteering at a legal clinic. And I woke up one day and I said, I don't want to be a lawyer anymore. I don't. Nothing happened. Just nothing. I just woke up on a random day. I really wish I was someone who actually wrote dates down because I would have loved as well to have known when I got the idea for this podcast. But anyway, woke up a random day and decided, you know what, actually, I don't want to do law anymore. I want to be in radio. I do. I want to yap for a living. Ended up just sharing it with my cousin randomly. And she was like, oh, I know someone who works in radio. You can let me put you in contact with her. Maybe you can shadow her. I then ended up shadowing Remy Bergs when she was at Represent Radio. Ended up doing that. From there, I moved to being a producer at another radio station. Not going to name them, but it was a radio show. Big up Manny Bells, a great DJ. He said to me, oh, do you want to, I'm going to have a show on this radio station. Do you want to be a producer on it? I said, absolutely. I would love to. Afrobeats, that's life. Love Afrobeats. Absolutely, I would love to. Did that. And then one random day, I came into the studio. I was meant to record No Shade with Akuya. Came into the studio, I was just ranting to Akuya and Brent about the studio management. I was so annoyed. Just randomly ranting. And then Brent says, oh, you're interested in doing radio? I said, yes, I am. I actually am. But it's stressing me out. And he said, oh, I've got a conversation to have with you afterwards. That's how I found out about The New Black. That's how I found out about the day after TDA. And before I knew it, that's where I was on. So there is nothing that we experience in life. I just really believe that everything that we go through in life is preparing us for a version of you in the future that's going to need the lessons that you're learning right here and like right now. And that's just so amazing to me. That blows my mind. And so to then do TDA, and I honestly never saw myself quitting TDA. I thought I was going to go old and grey on that show. Like that was always going to be what I called home, where I come back to. Now The New Black is always going to be home, of course. But yeah, and again, actually, as I'm saying this out loud, this was like self-therapy. As I'm saying this out loud, I'm realising I tend to just wake up and make decisions. But anyway, that day that I decided I was going to leave TDA, that was also not something I saw coming. That just happened. But the point I'm making here is that everything leads you somewhere. Your life experiences, the people that you meet, it teaches you something. And I really started embracing that a few years ago. Maybe, how old am I now? Oh dear, maybe like a decade ago. And where I just decided that every single year I wanted my New Year resolution to be for me to be a better version of myself. Sounding long-winded. But I knew that I decided that I wanted my New Year resolutions to be for me to work on myself and be a better version than I was the year after. And so I started doing this thing where there were 3 times in a year that I would gauge who I am and just see how far I've come. And that will be New Year's, Easter, because I love Easter, my favorite season, and my birthday. So I would always compare where I was the year before with that. And I just really wanted to focus on who I was as a person, who I am as a person. Again, because I think growing up, I'd heard so much and I've had so much said about who it is I'm supposed to be and what the expectations are of me, especially as a Nigerian woman, an African woman, a black woman, and the first daughter in an African household. I know some of you think that first daughters need to shut up. I'm sorry, no, never. Never, ever, 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 ever. Love to all the first daughters. Big up all of us. May our cups never run empty. Okay? Church, say amen. But anyways, so just through all of that, I just decided that what I want to do in life is really to just work on being a better version of myself. And I knew the kind of woman I wanted to be, and I just knew that it would take small steps to get there. So if you're someone who's been wanting to do something by yourself, and honestly, doing a podcast by myself it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing for me personally. But if you're someone who wants to do something by yourself, it starts with little habits. A few years ago, I made the decision to start doing things by myself. And so a part of me, I'm so grateful that I'm here doing this by myself, but also I'm not surprised that I'm doing this by myself. Because a few years ago, I intentionally made the decision to start doing things by myself. Because again, the way you're raised, if you've got siblings as well, if you like, whatever the case is, we're always kind of taught to do things together. A lot of your identity is wrapped around your friendships. I would say friendships, relationships, whatever the case. But when you're younger, what relationship are you really in? You shouldn't be in one. You know what I mean? That's the whole conversation for another day. But a lot of your identity is formed based on the people that you have around you. So when you're in school, obviously you're young and you spend a lot of time with friends and whatever the case is, and a lot of your interests, the things that you want to do, the things that you partake in, is influenced by somebody else. Yes, of course, I know some of you are leaders in the group. Some of you are not sheep and whatever else. Well done. Congratulations, you get a cookie. But a lot of that goes back, a lot of your identity and the things that you like and whatever else, it evolves or it comes from having friends and stuff. And so you find that the older you get, friends are kind of your crutch. Even as you navigate your family and whatever the case is, friends are your crutch. Like building friendships, forming friendships is something that you kind of focus on when you go to a new environment, when you move schools, you want to make friends. When you go to a new church or whatever the case is, you want to make friends. When you go to an event you've never been to, you want to make friends. And so a lot of that is just a lot of the things, the interests that we have is that. And so I just kind of got to a place in my life where I just said I wanted to know who I was outside of other people. But also, like, I realized I was an introvert. I realized I was living as a fraud. I had been living as an extrovert for so many years, and I would find that I would be I'd be so tired. I'd be so flipping tired. Like just social battery in the bin. Obviously, like as I'm older now, I know that's what it was, but I just felt drained. Anyways, so I just decided, you know what, it'd be fun to start doing things by myself. And also I wanted to build my confidence, my self-confidence. And that was one of the ways, I mean, I'll tell you some other ways that I did that, but one of the ways I wanted to build my self-confidence was by doing things by myself, to not have my friends there as a crutch. And I think if that's something that you would like to do, if you want to build your self-confidence and your self-esteem, and you want to be because I think it's a bold thing to be able to do things by yourself. I think it's a courageous thing to be able to do things by yourself. And if that's something that you want to build, you've got to start with little things. A lot of times we want to change things about ourselves, and we really think that the solution is just to go right into the deep end. Like you want to start going to the gym, for example, and you think that going 5 days a week, you're going to be consistent with that. Of course you're not. Like, you can't go from 0 to 5. People can, but chances of you being consistent after that is slim to none, right? So anyways, I decided to start working on little bits. And one of the very first things I did by myself, which is, it's quite dramatic if I go through the things I did by myself to get to this seat here. But one of the very first things I did by myself was going to the cinema by myself. And it might sound like it's not a big deal, but I'm sorry, I did this in, what year did, what's that lady? Viola Davis, who I love so much. She had a film called Black Widow with that alleged racist man, Liam Neeson. That's going around trying to find black people to be out. Anyway, but that to the side. She had a film, that film came out, and I really liked Viola Davis. And I thought, I'm going to go and watch this film by myself. I think that was in 2017 or 2016. I can't remember. But anyway, that was the very first thing I ever did by myself. And then after that, I would go for like a lunch or something by myself. But one of the other big steps I made was going on holiday by myself. I went on my very first solo trip in, I think that was 2018, because I started a podcast. It was either 2018 or it wasn't 2019. 2019 was the year of Afro Nation. A great time. That was a lit summer. It was 2018. I went on a solo trip by myself in 2018, and that really pushed me out of my comfort zone. I went out for dinner by myself. I was gonna really just stay in the hotel. I thought, I've made the first step. I've traveled out by myself. Nearly missed that flight as well. I remember so well, and I was just gonna give up. I had got a new iPhone, and for some reason I didn't set my alarm, and so I woke up when my train was leaving my station, and I was just gonna give up. I texted my mum and I was like, I missed the train. Like, I just woke up. And she was like, okay, like, try and make it. But I did anyway. I was really happy I went. And so I went on that trip. And yeah, I just thought, okay, I've done this. This is a big step. This is a big thing to travel. And I'm someone who I think about crimes. Back then, I used to watch a lot of like crime shows and stuff. So I was paranoid. But anyway, I did that. And it was a big step for me. And yeah, and then here I am. I guess there's 3 major things that I've done by myself that have gotten me here. Went to the cinema by myself, went on a solo trip, and now here I am on a solo podcast. How fun. But yeah, if you're someone who would like to do that, I think start with little things. Start with things like, for example, if you're going to an event with your friends, or you're going out to a restaurant with your friends, or whatever the case is, there's something that we do. So we say, oh no, you go first. No. How about you be the one to open the door and you go in first? It's little things like that. Little things. There's little habits that you change here and there that really, really make a difference to... I hate when Apple products don't get my ID. Like, don't be silly. But yeah, so it's little things, it's little steps like that then end up changing who you are, like, help you achieve your goals. So that's something that I would say. Meet a stranger. One of my favorite things to do is to meet strangers and just talk to them. I'm really hoping that a lot of the guests on the podcast are going to be strangers. It's people that I have conversations with, and I say to them, oh my gosh, do you mind coming and sitting in the studio with me and having a conversation? And they say, oh yeah, I don't mind, come on, let's go. I would really love that. I mean, I want to meet all sorts of people on here. I want to have conversations with everybody. So if you're interested in coming on the podcast, please reach out to me, let me know, and we can make that happen. But yeah, have conversations with strangers. Like, meet a stranger, talk to them, just compliment people, just compliment them, just say, oh, that's a nice top, or this, even if you don't think it's the nicest thing, just to get yourself out of that shell, out of that bubble of being shy or not being as confident. It's little things like that. Start a conversation with people and just be friendly. Honestly, the little things that you do will really, really add up and get you. And you just wake up one day, years later or months later, and you find that who you are today and what you do today so confidently, the past you would have never ever thought. Like, never ever ever thought. But yeah, another thing that I stopped doing to kind of build my confidence, my self-confidence, oh my goodness, it's my favorite thing. I stopped asking people. I stopped asking. Why does that sound weird? It sounds weird. I stopped asking people what their opinions were. Yeah, I stopped asking people what their opinions were. I still live like that to an extent. Of course, there are people that I trust, and once in a while I want to get their opinions. But then I find once in a while that I'm kind of nearly going back to a place where I feel where people's opinions matter too much to me, or almost like I'm kind of dependent on them to make a move. Like, for example, with this podcast, I had thought of a different name, and because I felt some form of, I don't know if it was imposter. No, it's not imposter syndrome. It's not, because I know that I can do this. It's not imposter syndrome. It was just a bit of a fear, I guess, of knowing that I'm stepping out and doing this by myself, which is always scary. I mean, now that I am here, I'm okay. But anyway, so I guess I didn't speak to many people about the podcast, barely anybody. But the people that I did, it was interesting because I felt a part of me kind of wanted validation. Like, I knew the ideas I had were good. I knew that I liked what it was that I wanted to come on here and say and talk about, because I know what fuels me. I know what makes me feel like I have purpose in life. I know what kind of conversations I want to have. I know what I know, right? But then I found that when I would share it, almost like I want that validation. I want that, yes, that's a really good idea. I want that level of excitement. And that's one of the things I've learned through life, is that no one will ever feel excitement for you the way you really will for yourself. Yes, people can do, but there's just a way that you feel for things for yourself that no one else can ever really get. And that's because when it really comes to it, you're the one who knows your life story. You're the one who knows what something, the magnitude of something and what it really holds to you. So no one will ever really know. No one will ever truly, fully understand the magnitude of something happening for you that you've been wanting for yourself. And for me, it was just important for me to really just lean on myself as my support system. Yes, relationships are great. Yes, friendships, family ships, all the ships, all great. Ships, all great. However, I do believe it's so important to have a level of self-confidence, because people are not always going to be available to speak life into you. People are not always going to be available to co-sign the things that you want to do. People are not always going to be available to tell you yes, go, or no, stop. And so you have to be able to trust the voice that is you. You have to be able to trust your own voice that lives within you to be able to do these things. And so one of the ways for me that was so important was to stop asking people for their opinions, whether good or bad. I don't want a compliment for you. I don't. I love a compliment, yes, absolutely. But there's certain things I wouldn't ask people for. I wouldn't ask people about or ask what their opinions are, because I don't even want you to say, do you know what, Esther, that's a great idea. I don't even want to hear it. It should be enough for me to tell myself that's a great idea for me to do it. It should be enough for me to tell myself, yeah, go forth and do this, for that needs to be enough. Me co-signing myself has to be enough. Me telling myself, don't do this, or I like this, or I don't like this, it has to be enough. My own voice has to be enough. And so I just stopped. And I mean, definitely works out is a great tip for negative feedback, of course, but even for the good feedback. And that's really where the challenge is for the good feedback, where it should be enough what you think about yourself. But yeah, that's one of the things that that I had to do. And really and truly, it all just comes down to figuring out who you are, which again is what this podcast is about. We're writing life's canvas. What is your life's canvas? What things make you? What things have influenced who you've become? What your aspirations are? What your goals are? How you like your personality, even your hobbies, your interests. Like, what has made you you? What makes you you? And a lot of those things, are you happy with the things that make you you? Or are they things that you need to relook at and take some bits out and add some more bits and evolve? I always find it so interesting when people, like, one of my biggest pet peeves with people that say, oh, this is just how I am. I hate it so much. I hate it so much because, I hate it. My thing is that everyone is always happy to evolve through life. You're happy to not be using a Nokia 3310 anymore. You're happy to be doing that. You're happy to not be sending letters via pigeons. You're happy for that. You're happy to not send a message and hear back in, I don't know, 3 months' time. You're happy to use technology. You're happy to evolve with the things around you that make your life a convenience. But then when it comes to your personal life, when it comes to your character, when it comes to your personality, when it comes to how you relate to the people around you, all of a sudden that's where you want to draw the line. That's where it gets too far. That's where evolution and being a better you, that's where it's just, I like things how they are. That's when you don't want change. And I really just don't understand living a life like that. Like, we're all meant to be better. I always say that every generation is meant to be better than the next. I give older parents a lot of grace, especially a lot of them who moved to, Western countries from the Caribbean or from Africa, and they had to navigate that. And so having children and navigating all that stuff, I give grace for that because they're not going to be perfect. However, you're meant to see the opportunities that your parents had and the people before you had and just want better. Not because you're better than them, not because you feel that you know more than them, but just because there's more available to you now. There's more resources available to you now. And so isn't it just a waste of life if you don't evolve? And so yeah, people, that's one of my biggest pet peeves, man. My biggest pet peeves. I can't deal with, that's just how I am, or that's just how I do, or another one, gosh, maybe even more annoying than that's just how I am, is that's how it's always been done. What? Nope, doesn't run with me. And that's why, again, going back to when I said that who you are, there's nothing that you go through in life. Everything about yourself, there's a reason for it. When I was younger, I think I mentioned at the start that studying sociology made me realize I'm a feminist, right? Which I think everyone should be a feminist. We'll have a conversation about feminism one day. Because some of you are really enjoying the benefits of feminism and claiming that you're not feminists. LOL, you're a clown. But anyway, when I think about me being younger, I've always questioned things. I grew up in Nigeria and I've always questioned things. I've always questioned the traditions. I've just always been intrigued because I'm a very observant person. So I always just questioned why, for example, as a girl, a lot of the things about how it is that I'm raised revolves around me being a wife one day or me being a mother one day. I always question those things, and a lot of the answers that you get back, especially as a child, because a lot of people can't be bothered to speak to children and can't be bothered to explain things to children. A lot of it you get back from your teachers, from, people that you have in church or wherever it is, even family. It's just, that's how it's always been done. That's just how we do it in our family. That's just how we do it here. That's just how we do it in this country. That's just how we do it. And I've never, ever been satisfied with that answer. I've never, ever felt, it just hasn't done it for me. It's never given me the clarity that I needed. And so when I look at who I am today, it's just so interesting. Like, how amazing, actually. My mind is just blown as I'm saying it now. How amazing is it that I grew up as a young girl, always questioning these things. And now here I am as an adult with a podcast about questioning things and looking at these things. God is amazing. God is amazing. God is amazing. The way things work out and the full circle moment, absolutely amazing. But anyway, yeah, I am not fulfilled. I am not happy with answers where, that's just always how we've done it. And that's just how, no, not here for it. And just doing those things, questioning those things and stepping out of what the norm is, stepping out of what tradition tells you, culture tells you, even a lot of the things that we learn under the guise of religion. That's a whole other thing. That's a whole other episode. A lot of those things are man-written, man-made. And being bold enough to question those things builds your confidence. Nothing will build your confidence more than questioning how you were raised, more than questioning the status quo. Nothing will raise your confidence more than that. But anyways, that's that on that. Start little. Don't expect big changes all at once, but start little on things and just let life happen but be as responsible as you can in the process. Right, so with the podcast as well, I am going to have segments where I guess I just get to say what's on my heart. There's a lot of things about this world that really annoys me. There's a lot of things about this world that really irks me. And so I've got a segment called Unpopular Should Be Popular Opinions. Yeah. Unpopular should be popular opinions. And this episode, for this one, it's about church. It's about church. So I know that a lot of people we're going to funky churches now. I don't. But people are going to a lot of funky churches now. You know, your pastor's really cool and crowd surfing. Yes, that's one person in particular I've ever seen that. Used to like him, but it's embarrassing now. It's embarrassing. Just an embarrassment, really. But anyway, I know that people are going to really popular churches now, and so not popular churches, really funky and cool and hip, and I sound like such an auntie. Churches now, and it's cool, and your pastor knows about pop culture, and he's on the pulpit, and he's using Cardi B and Offset as an example, and It's great. Do you like it? Well, no, I can't even say if you like it, I love it. I don't. I actually don't. But fine, fair enough. But it's my belief that there are just some things that we should not be incorporating into the church. The church is sacred. The church is ideally where God should reside. It doesn't reside in all churches for different many reasons. Again, when there's an episode on Christianity, because obviously that's my faith, I will be talking about that unashamedly. So I have a lot of unpopular opinions actually when it comes to church. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. But yeah, I know there's a lot of things that are incorporated in there. You know, we go to church. This irks me so much. I hate when Christians, churches, funkify secular songs. Because now, why are we rapping Migos in here? But then we're trying to insert holy lyrics. Don't be silly. Everyone sit down. Just please sit down. But I saw something the other day, and this is no shade to the church. I don't even know what church it was. I don't even know what church it is. I just randomly saw it, and it's just because there's obviously a lot going on at the moment. At the time of my recording this, there's a lot going on about Arsenal and whatnot, blah, 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 which is great. But again, I just think there's certain things not to incorporate into churches. So I saw a church. Again, I don't even know the name of the church. I didn't do that much. I just saw it and I thought, okay. But anyways, basically what it was that every Arsenal supporter, it looked like every Arsenal supporter under that roof was on the altar taking pictures with the jersey, and they had like a big Arsenal banner. And again, I know it might sound like I'm a hater, which honestly, if I'm being real with you guys, if I'm just going to be honest with you guys, a lot of these segments, a lot of the things I'm going to bring up in this particular segment, I'm going to sound like a hater. I'm going to sound like a Debbie Downer. I'm going to sound like I'm no fun. Don't care. Don't care. This is my podcast. I can do whatever I want to do. I can do whatever I want to do. And that's why I created the segment, because I just thought, it's a chance for me to just say the things that just irk me about this world that we live in. I observe so much. And that's why I've called it Unpopular Should Be Popular Opinions, because in my opinion, it should be popular opinions. And I hate the fact that a lot of times it's unpopular. I hate the fact that a lot of times I might be the only one in the room that holds this opinion. Anyway, I don't see why every Arsenal supporter, we're on the altar where the word of God is preached. Really? In church? Couldn't do this outside, couldn't do this in the parking lot. You couldn't have like if you must, had to push, you couldn't have an Arsenal, I don't even know, club? Couldn't have an Arsenal club, sub-club within the church? You have to take it to the Lord's altar. Like, imagine me, because when I go to church because I want to. I read my Bible daily. I pray to God all the time. I'm always in communion with God. But I go to church for the beauty of the fellowship, of the Christian fellowship with other believers. I don't want to be in there talking about secular things. I leave it outside the door. I leave the worries and the interests and the things that we carry in this world. I leave it at the door. I leave it at the door. I don't want to be in here talking about it. Funny enough, actually, I remember when the Queen died. I think I mentioned this on TDA. I must have. But I remember when the Queen died, it was mentioned in church. And I just thought, what's the Queen got to do with church? Yes, I know. Is she the head of England Church? I don't know. She's the head of, I don't know. She's the head of something. Head of something. I don't know. All the best to her. Well, yeah. All the best to them. But I just think that there's certain things that we really don't need to be incorporating. We don't need to be merging different worlds. We don't need to be merging all the third spaces, because then we might where do we draw the line? Actually, I was going to say, where do we draw the line? Do we do brunches at church now? But I know that there's people that do like ladies brunches, and that's not too bad, to be fair. But yeah, I wasn't here for it. I saw it and I just thought, don't need to. But I think it's because I find that Christians always try to do these quote unquote cool things as a marketing tool. And I am just very firmly of the belief that we don't need to do all of that stuff. The gospel is its own marketing tool. The Holy Spirit is the marketer. God is the marketer. The gospel itself is the market being sold. We don't need to be funkifying and merging different forms of idolatry into the church. We don't need to be doing that. But again, that's just that. That's just my thoughts this episode on my unpopular should be popular opinions. Get your jerseys out of the church altar. Don't want it there. Don't want to see it. But anyways, that's it really. So these episodes are going to be every 2 weeks, at least for the first year. Or what year are we in? 2026? Yeah, at least for 2026, it will be every 2 weeks. Because again, forming habits. This is new to me. Well, doing a podcast by myself is new to me. And also, I am here by the grace of God, for a long time. And I really want to pour the best that I can into what I'm building here. I know what my dreams are. I know what my aspirations are. And yeah, I just really want to do it that way. I don't even know why I'm explaining the fact that the episode's every 2 weeks. Sorry. It's every 2 weeks. That's really it. But anyway, yeah, the episode will be every 2 weeks. It's going to be dropping on Wednesdays. Wednesday is my favorite day of the week. Wednesday has always been my favorite day of the week. When I went to school in Nigeria, right? When I went to school in Nigeria, on Wednesday we had jollof rice. We had jollof rice, coleslaw, and chicken. I'm a foodie, so I remember the food menu from Monday to Friday. But Wednesdays has always been my favorite day for as long as I can remember. Nothing bad happens to me on Wednesdays. Matter of fact, I get more blessings on Wednesdays. So yeah, episode's going to be out every Wednesday. So please tune in. You can, of course, if you're listening to it now, it's because you can find it on whatever platform you're listening on. But it's available on all podcast streaming platforms, and of course on YouTube as well. So please head over to YouTube. If you're listening, head over to YouTube and like the video, please. Subscribe to my channel. And yes. But also follow me on social media. One of the things with me wanting to do this podcast was that I've been planning it for a minute. And I was almost kind of waiting for things to be perfect before I started. But that's not that's not how life is. I'm not a perfect person. And like I said, I always look forward to the next version of myself that I get to meet. I always look forward to the future me that I haven't met yet. And so I needed to kind of stop that. I needed to stop and pause in me trying to chase perfection in this release. And so that meant just doing it. Because I found that the longer I was waiting, then doubts were coming to like feed into my heart. And just little things making me question whether I really wanted to do this and whether I was doing the right thing. and whatever else. And I had to stop chasing perfection and just get on with it. Like, I know that over the years, I'm sure you've all seen it, you must have heard it somewhere, where people say, well, if you want to start something, just start. And it sounds very cringe, it sounds very cliche, but honestly, that really is just it. That really is just it. I say all of that to say, I can't tell you what the Instagram page is, because I decided, I basically told Brent, I'm coming to the studio on this date at this time to record my podcast, because it almost feels like imposter syndrome is kicking in, and we can't have that. And this is why it's so great to have great friends, because Brent was like, yeah, can't have that. No, that's not going to happen. So the second episode will have more information. But of course, if you look in the description box, if you're watching this on YouTube or if you're listening on Spotify or wherever else, it will have all the details. By the time the episode is out, of course, all the details will be out as well of everything else will be finalized. But it was just important for me not to chase perfection. I couldn't afford to, because if I did that, this podcast would probably start in winter, maybe even 2027. And then before you know it, I just will never start. So so if you want to do something, just get up, stand up, and just get it over and done with. But I'm really happy to be here. I finally feel like I'm walking in my purpose. For the longest time, I have felt in my life that I didn't have a talent. I didn't have skill. I didn't have a gift, not skills. I had skills. I didn't have a talent. I didn't have a gift. But as I've grown older and I've worked to myself and I've looked at who it is that God says I am, I've come to realize who it is that God wants me to be, and the purpose and the path that he wants me to walk on. And I'm so excited, because this feels so good for me. This feels so great for me. This feels natural to me. And I feel I am here. I'm here to do what it is that I'm meant to be doing. I'm here doing what it is that I need to be doing. So I hope you will follow me on this journey. And I hope that this podcast will be a blessing to you, as it already is for me. I am open to suggestions on conversations that you would like us to have. Of course, I'm open to comments and feedback and all that kind of stuff. Absolutely. I want it to be very interactive. I want to build a community. I want to, because again, really and truly, I want to speak to many people. I want to learn people's lives. I want to learn how people are who they are, and how you got to be who you are, and your life experiences and the things that you've been through, things that where you aspire to be. So I hope this is a blessing to you. Definitely is to me. And yes, I appreciate all the support that I get. So please kindly support and share this. If you feel that this will bless anybody, send it to them. And look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. But I hope you've enjoyed the episode, and I have been your host. I was about to say, oh my gosh. I've been your host, My Own Royalty. I might have to incorporate that. It just felt like it was time for me to go by my actual name, the name God gave me, especially when I feel that I'm walking in my purpose. The name Esther feels very powerful to me in my season of life right now. The name Esther, if you don't know the biblical story of Esther, it's a very powerful, amazing story. And it's starting to resonate with me. I've never really deep that my name is Esther. I just feel, okay, Esther, thanks, great. But that name just feels, so anyway. I have been your host, Esther, and you can find me on all your social media platforms at My Own Royalty. I am on Twitter, I am on Instagram, and I am on TikTok. And by the time this episode comes out, you will also know the podcast Instagram name. So kindly follow that as well. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Till then, be blessed, mind your business, and take life one step at a time. Don't put yourself under too much pressure. Give yourself grace. And we'll talk next week or the week after that. Sorry, I forgot. It's every 2 weeks. We'll talk on the next episode. Bye.